I think this is another really interesting conversation. Where do you say you are from? Do you say you're from the place you live or the place you grew up? Now, before I continue, I want to address the fact that I understand and appreciate that there are people for whom this conversation is much different and much more difficult. There are people who are stateless, and that is not who I'm talking about. I understand those are very much more nuanced conversations. You're welcome to join this conversation if that is you, but I'm talking about myself and my experience, and I am not stateless. So me, for example, I come from the US. I'm American. I come from Vermont. I haven't lived in the US since the end of college, give or, there's been some months here and there, but as like a permanent residency since college. So that was 2011. Vermont, I haven't lived in since I left at the end of high school, which was 2007. So am I still from those places? I still say I am. And the second part of that is, can I ever say that I come from Portugal? In about 5 years, I can get Portuguese citizenship. Can I say that I am from Portugal? It feels like that would be an odd thing to say, but what about 10 years, 20 years down the road if I'm still here? Do I say it then? Now, I know that Portugal has immigration, and of course there are immigrants and there are people from other countries living here, but it's interesting because in the US, we have such an incredibly ethnically diverse population that, sure, there are some people who, because of the way they dress, you can say, look American, but there is no one American look because we are a country of immigrants. So, no matter what, people who say that they are from the US, it makes sense. It could be anybody. They could look any which way, and that would make sense. But, I've lived in places like Vietnam where you can't actually get citizenship. So if you live there for 10 years, 20 years, which many foreigners do, can you say you're from Vietnam? But then there's the much simpler conversation of if you're in the US and you are from one state but have lived in another, where do you say you're from? Because I remember this happening after college with a friend who's from the Boston area, and she went and lived in New York, and she'd been there for a year, and then we were somewhere together and she was like, I'm from New York. And I was like, what? And not to me, she said it to somebody that we had met. And I was like, what? You're not from New York? That doesn't make sense to me. And to me also, those are two very different US cultures, Boston and New York. And I think it's odd to just change where you're from, because if you truly are from a place, if you're not stateless, if you're not somebody who moved around a lot in your young age, aren't you always from that place?